Good morning. I am Jenny of Soul Pet Connections. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. And this is my friend Bee, who is a fostered rescue horse from Gate Rescue in Maryland. She is a Tennessee walking horse. All right, we're going to set our timers so we can get going. Bee and I are working on the long reins today. Excuse the dirt. Sometimes it is a lot easier to just get going, and then once she is really settled in the work, we've done our first phase of groundwork, then we groom and get ready to ride. Ooh, long. A little bit out of balance today, but that's all right. So, we are still working on the long reins. Yeah, the neighbors have their dog out. That's what she's looking at. And we are working on her alignment and balance. Yes, I know the neighbor's over there. That's fine. They're allowed to be over there. And so this exercise of working on the long reins, oh yes, good job, helps her find straightness through her spine, takes the rotation out of the pelvis. Excellent, honey bunny. Are you going to poop already? You just pooped a minute ago. And so what I'm loving right off the bat is that her head is continuing to drop. As I say that, she picks it up again, but there we go. She is finding more moments of level or low. There's a nice lick and chew to start with. That's pretty good right off the bat. A little distraction again. So she has been with me now for 2 years. She is 22. She'll be 23 in July. I know she has had a couple babies. And what I have discovered since she's been with me is that she was never given a chance to do things with her acceptance. She did everything that was asked of her, but was terrified the whole time. And so we've basically taken these 2 years to start over. What I discovered in the first couple rides with her was that she did not know a cue to go forward. She didn't actually understand what it meant for someone to put their leg on, because she was always rushing off in such a hurry that no one ever needed that. And so we've spent the past 2 years primarily working on the ground. It took a couple months before we were able to get on the long reins. But ever since then, we've really been able to make progress, helping her find her alignment and balance. Very nice. So I have noticed that her legs, it looks like her front legs are lighter now. They don't look like they're carrying as much weight. They look like they're reaching a little further. And that is telling me that there's better alignment in her hindquarters, her pelvis, so that her legs can operate freely because her organization is coming from her spine and her core. That's the goal. So when she came to me, they told me she had a sticky right hip, which I agree with. That right side, that right hip is definitely challenging for her. But it isn't anything more than a muscular imbalance, a postural issue. So that will work out over time. So I like her slow pace. She is very thoughtfully placing every leg. She's a little inconsistent in her length of steps, particularly in the hind leg right now. So her right hind appears to be short striding and her left hind appears to be taking longer steps. So that's just that imbalance kind of showing up visually. But I like the effort she's putting in. This is going really well. Oh, let's see where we are on time here. Fortunately, it's chilly today, so it makes it difficult to get to my watch. But what we're at the point of at this time is that we have gotten through all the fear layers. So she trusts me. She trusts the work now. Another nice lichen chew. You can see her eyes are soft. Her inside ear is almost always on me. And so everything we're working on at this point is postural. It's not the fear side of the nervous system. So we've gotten through all the stress responses, and so now we're working on rebuilding the body. So I'm looking for her head to be down more than up so that she can release the tension in the top line that has carried her for her 21 years of life. Good job. I like the blowing. That tells me that there's some freeing up in the ribs. Because you can't take a deep breath if your ribs are locked. And the thing that I like to do in this work, because it can be boring, right? Once you know the technique, it's not difficult. I could probably do it in my sleep at this point. I expect I've got over 10,000 hours doing nothing but long reins. So when you have the technique down, then you get to start focusing on yourself. Because what's fascinating is the more in alignment you can be on the ground in an activity like this, the easier it is for the horse to find their alignment. Even though we're not physically touching other than through the long reins. Lovely. Lovely. Yes, you're working hard. Good job. Very good. Perfect. And a third lick and chew. Excellent. So that was a really long stride on the left, and then a short stride, and then a kind of medium stride. So she's really exploring how to use her legs and making changes in her body. This is kind of a technique that you spend your time responding to the horse, but at the same time, they just have to figure it out themselves. So based on their responses, you adjust the technique, but they've got to be able to work it out themselves and build the muscle. So it's twofold, right? They have to be able to release the old pattern. They have to be given enough time to release the habituated pattern and then be able to build the new pattern and build the muscles that have been underused probably their entire life for the new pattern, for a better quality of movement. Perfect. We go through the same thing, and we often don't give ourselves enough time to work on it, and it's the same thing people do to their pets when they're working on something particularly physical. So making the ask and then giving the animal enough time to really process what's being asked of them and how to do the task is something that we can't overdo, in my opinion, because we're pretty good at underdoing it, pretty good at rushing things. Here's our 10-minute timer, so we're going to swing around here in a second and switch directions. Yeah, you got to turn around. Here we go. There's a girl. Once you do this enough, you figure out how to do that, but it takes a little while. All right, let's reset this. Reset. There we go. All right. Ooh. Good job. So now we're going to go to the left. This is a chance to see what's going on, see if it's the same or not, because just because you did something on one side doesn't mean you're going to get the same results on the other side. So she's starting out at about the same tempo. Her head is a little bit elevated, which is not dissimilar to the way we started out on the other side. There's a little tiny lick and chew. I don't know if you could see that on the video or not, but it's there. It's just pretty internal. And now I feel like her pace is slightly faster than the other side. Just by like 1/4 mile an hour. So we have a little bit more momentum. This is the side that was, quote, stronger. But what I find is as they change, the, quote, bad side or the side they struggle the most on tends to change itself. So there's no guarantees, and this is why it's always important to start out any work with checking in to see where you're at. What I love about this quality of work, though, is that they don't lose it. So they had 3 months off in winter due to the snow and ice, and we've picked up exactly where we left off. And not only that, but she's progressing super fast in that process. Very nice. So I like that she paused and did not lift her head up and then continued forward. Very nice. So perfect. Very good. So this looks pretty similar to the other side. The left hind is on the inside now, and it is taking a little bit shorter strides on the inside, which is normal. A little bit of clunk in her leg there as the joint kind of figures out where it's supposed to be. This is really nice. So this is a little steadier. It was, right? So let's see if we can ask her to move forward. Just going to put some extra tension on that outside rein. Very nice. And she was able to mostly move forward without picking up her head. At least not for a few strides, which is good. That's great. So I have to pay close attention when I do this work to my own head and neck because I tend to hold tension there myself. So this looks like our sticky spot today. So when we come around again, I'm going to pay really close attention leading up to that spot and see if we can ask for a little bit more balance. So I'm going to be a little bit more particular on the lines as we go and see if we can get through that spot without stopping. They've got sweet spots in their patterns and sticky spots, spots where they always fall apart. So as we come into this sticky spot, I'm just going to add a little bit more tension on the outside rein and see if that can help her maintain her balance to keep going. And it worked. I love it when it works. If it didn't, we do the same thing we did every other time. So whenever you figure out that pattern of the spot where it kind of falls apart, that's a cue to look at the opposites part where it's really good and figure out what's going on in the good spot that you can apply to the sticky spot to help them find better quality movement. I like where her head is going at this point. And then it goes back again. And a lovely lick and chew. Really lovely. So perfect. And I got distracted. Ooh, but a head stretch. We like that. So I love this. This is one of the first times she's really explored releasing that neck on the long reins, even at the halt. Being visited by a local murder. Having a chit chat today. So she just does not have the coordination to be able to release that neck while in motion at this point, and that's fine. So if she's able to do it at a halt, I'll take that. And also, I would prefer that she not halt so that we can keep working through to find it in motion. It's tricky. It takes time. There's no wrong answers from her either. Hi, friends. Got a half a dozen crows up there. So there is no wrong answer from her. It's all an exploration, and I can't tell her how she's going to be able to find it easiest. So if it is at halt in the beginning, that's fine. And also, we need to be able to work through to find it in motion. Really, really good. So lovely. You're just so perfect. A little bit of struggle right there. Kind of wobbled out of alignment, so we just work on getting it back. No big deal. And this time we're a little smoother. Perfect. Really, really good. So this work is very particular and precise. So this is like walking on a balance beam for 20 straight minutes. It takes a lot of body control and body awareness, and she is very clearly working really hard on that. And a wobble. And we're back. So it's deceptively simple. I like that her head was shifting downward as she went to take that step forward. So that's a really good sign. But this is deceptively simple. This looks like nothing, but it is a lot of work. It is a lot of effort to coordinate. There's our second bell. So let's see if we can find a point where she will stop. Not really going to change what I'm doing because I want her to continue to do things in alignment. And maybe. Good job. I know you heard it. Oh, alrighty, on to part 2. So this was fantastic. So now we're going to take a few minutes, get groomed up, or attempt to groom up. I don't really know how possible that's going to be, huh? And then we're going to ride. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little while, everybody.